Makeovers, and I have a bag full of stuff that we are going to thrift and flip together today. I have some spring decor items that have been on my thrift list, and I'm having a really hard time finding them, so I'm going to create them. I've noticed over the few years of thrifting that there are always the same things at thrift stores, like glassware or vases or frames. I think we have 5 or 6 projects. I'm not even sure. I went a little crazy, but the first one I'm going to show you is one I actually teased a few videos ago, and it is a tiered tea stand. So really easy to put together. So I'm going to show you real quick how to do that first. And I made it simply from thrifted dishes. So I picked some in the same color palette, but all sticking with the florals. So all you need to do is thrift sort of a dinner plate size, a luncheon plate, or I think a bread plate is actually the best here. This is a true bread plate, and then another smaller dish on top. These two are very similar in size, but I think it still looks proportionate. But just make sure that your bottom dish is bigger than your middle and your top, or else it's going to be a little wonky and you might actually experience it tipping over. Once you've done your plates, you are going to actually drill holes into them. You need to use a specific drill bit. So you have to use one that is designed for ceramic and tile. The other tip while using that drill bit is to get everything wet. You want to make sure that your plate is wet throughout the entire process of drilling, and the drilling does take a little bit of time. It's not like your typical drilling a screw into the wall. You have to be really patient here, but you will eventually get it. And the other thing to note here is you might want to get an extra drill bit, especially if you're going to be doing more than one tiered cake stand. The drill bit doesn't last forever, and because it's so slow and it's really difficult to get through some of these beautifully crafted dishes, we noticed that by the time we drilled all 3 of these, the drill bit was kind of useless afterwards. Before you go ahead and assemble, you want to make sure you wash your dishes, just because there's a lot of that porcelain gunk on here. We're going to go ahead and wash them. The only other thing you need for this project is a kit. It's on Amazon. I think I paid $8 for it, which is a steal once you see the finished product. To brew a cup of tea because we have quite an afternoon of crafting. For this next project, I have always been drawn to milk glass, specifically in that shell pink color, but I've never really had luck finding it. So I took some of these simple glass pieces and I'm going to paint them with this Rust-Oleum chalk paint. I did wash both pieces thoroughly, I dried them, and then I also sprayed them with some rubbing alcohol to just get off any extra gunk that might be on there. So this is the first coat. I definitely took a few more coats to get it to be a little bit more of the color that I wanted. You could definitely go over this with like a gloss or a finish just to give it that shine if you were looking for it, but I think it's super cute and very shabby chic. I think what I'll do at the end of the video is do a little before and after and show you guys the finished products. So for the next project, I grabbed some of these frames and I have been dying to use some of the fabrics that I have. I have a great fabric store here called Fabric Place Basement, and they do a lot of discounted fabrics and they do carry some Liberty prints. So I've been stashing these away for a spring project, and I'm going to cover some of these frames with some fabric. I'm really just eyeballing the sizes here. I'm just doing enough to fold over. Just to have a little extra just in case. One thing I learned while doing this process is you definitely don't want to put too much fabric inside the frame, or else you are going to have trouble closing it back up. So cut more than you think just to be safe, but you're also going to see me trimming it a little bit later. I also found that using some spray adhesive is really helpful in just adhering the fabric to the frame while you're gluing everything down. You don't need a lot. This is super sticky. I have found that if you let it sit for like 30 seconds before you put it on the fabric, that is the best. I'm just pressing it down here and also pulling the fabric. You want it to be taut just to avoid having any wrinkles. And then I'm just going around with basic hot glue and folding over. I am pulling the fabric pretty tightly here just to make sure there are no wrinkles or ripples.
and I'm just going to do that on all the different sides. I am going to go back and trim this excess fabric because I really don't want to have too much in there. I really like the look of the fabric frames. I just feel like it's very cottagey and very cozy. It definitely offers a different visual aesthetic to a picture frame wall or a gallery wall, or honestly even just on its own. I put a photo of my grandparents in here just to see what it looked like, and the greens in the photo really stood out, so it made me smile. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on this larger frame here. This second frame came out so cute. I can't wait for you guys to see it at the end of the video. The next project was a jewelry project, and it was one of my favorite activities to do as a kid. So I found some beaded pieces at the store, and I basically just took everything apart and then restrung them on some beading wire. It was definitely a little tedious, but it was really fun to do, and I have some inspiration photos I'll share with you of a brand that I really admire, but is super expensive, and I think these kind of look similar.
I am so excited with how my little necklace projects turned out. I have this one on right here, and I just paired it with another thrifted gold necklace. I absolutely love thrifting my jewelry because I actually think it's better quality than the majority of stuff out there. Of course, unless you're buying true fine jewelry, but these are obviously fun costume pieces. I think I paid $15 for all of the jewelry. I reused the clasps in many of the cases because they were perfectly fine. I did add a few beads that I had from previous projects, like these clay ones here, but that is the fun part about going and finding some just fun things, and I think that they're great layered and they're just fun. They're going to be fun for spring and summer. This trend is definitely a trend, so it's not a piece that I would go and buy full price. I'm not going to go and spend $200-300 on beaded jewelry. That just seems a little crazy for me. So I took some inspiration from those designer brands, created my own with some thrifted pieces, and super inexpensive and super fun. So now I'm going to get another cup of coffee and I'm going to work on a really fun project with some thrifted brooches. I've been collecting them from probably the last 2 to 3 months to create some fridge magnets with them. Super simple, really short list of materials that you need. I have collected quite a few vintage brooches. I actually bought a few new things at Michael's because they were on sale at the time, and I thought they could be really fun to sort of do a collection. All you need for the project are some thrifted brooches or earrings, and then these magnets, which I purchased on Amazon, which I'll leave linked down below. I'm going to use this ceramic glue just because I have it. I try not to buy stuff if I don't need to. I think this will be just fine. Cut out the components here with wire cutters just to get as much of a flat surface as possible. We are going to be using them as fridge magnets, so you don't want them sticking out a ton. We're basically cutting out the components and we're going to be gluing magnets on. Super simple, but I think the look will be really cute, and it's a nice way to add some vintage charm to kind of a boring appliance like your refrigerator.
So I'm just using some wire cutters here to take off the brooch pieces or the earring backs, and you just want to get as much off as possible. Some of the things that were thicker, I wasn't able to. So I did come up with a few alternatives to be able to still make them into magnets. I'm using this ceramic glue here. Just be aware it's super duper sticky, and you are going to get this glue on your fingers and nothing will get it off except for 100% acetone. So just a note on that, but it's definitely an easy and fun, quick project, and the payoff is super cute.
Okay, so here we are at my fridge. I'm going to give them a try. The ceramic glue is very, very sticky, just to note, but it does work very quickly. So normally you should let things like that dry for a couple hours, but I'm totally impatient and I want to give them a try. I might try them and then let them dry a little bit just so that they don't actually adhere to the refrigerator. But I want to at least make sure that they stick. So let's see. These ones are all coming out perfectly. And I just want to show you what I did on the back of some of them so you can actually see. This one I put one here because I was unable to cut off the components of the brooch. So I just took 2 of the larger magnets and put one on each side. That seems to have worked really well. This one, very delicate. This one, similar situation. I couldn't actually cut off the components, so I just doubled up on the magnet so that it was a little bit more 3D, and it actually works. There's another one here. I couldn't really get rid of this middle piece, so I just put one on each side. I just did about 5 more of the magnets, and they're all kind of like funky shapes, so I'm gonna let them sit for a little bit so they don't actually adhere to my refrigerator, because that would be bad. So while that sits, I forgot about this frame. So I did the frames yesterday with the fabric, but this one I got because of the scallop detail, and I'm gonna pop in a few of my inspiration photos, but I'm gonna actually paint this one. So I'm gonna try to do it in the same color palette so all 3 frames go together, but I'm going to be using these acrylic paints that I got from the Valentine's Day craft video, and yeah, we're gonna see if this can be another fun spring frame. So I'm gonna do that right now. Following a tutorial I found on YouTube, which I will leave linked down below because I think it's going to be the easiest one. This is a no-sew method for creating a pleated lampshade. So I'm going to be using the sheet that I thrifted as well, or it might actually be drapes, I'm not sure, but I'm going to be using the fabric that I thrifted. The thing we have to do is just measure how long we need our strips to be. So this lampshade is about 7.5 inches tall, so I'm probably going to do 9 inches just for easy math. So I'm going to cut 9-inch strips, and we're gonna cut that from here. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I'm not sure how many strips we're gonna need, but I'll sort of estimate as we go. So to cut the strips, I'm going to be using my quilting mat, a rotary cutter. You don't have to use this, but I find it to be the easiest, especially since we're gonna be having to cut uniform strips over and over and over again.